We We want to remind you that this Learning Lab is just one aspect of the TA program, and LISC is here to serve you in a myriad of ways. This is our last official program of 2021, but in 2022, we'll have more opportunities for learning, including peer learning sessions, which really feature peers talking to one another about their projects. We organize that by asking for volunteers, and those are really wonderful sessions where people really are sharing their work and learning from each other. We'll have resource team-led workshops throughout the year as one-offs, similar to this, but only 1 hour to dial in and learn something new, learn a technique, learn about a new resource, and get some help on your projects. And I just want to also remind everyone that we have one-on-one coaching with our resource team. And that is a really incredible resource for all of you to tap into. It's like having a paid consultant for free. We've found these sessions to be incredibly helpful to people. We've had some resource team members that have met with different communities for ongoing coaching. We've had folks give advisement on particular issues, and we've had folks act as mentors as well. So please take advantage of that. It's a really valuable resource. We're so lucky to have such an amazing group of individuals on the resource team. Not only does the resource team help you, but they help us too. This Learning Lab was designed with the help of resource team members John Davis, Jamie Horder, who are actually with us today, Askala Sagai, Irfana Jethanurani, Matthew Glassman, and our next two presenters, Marty Pottenger and Mark Valdez, who have been really holding the water on pushing us to make sure we are centering the art part of these projects. We're incredibly grateful to Mark and Marty, not just for this workshop, but for the perspective they bring to this team, their generosity, and the love that they have for this work and for all of us and all of you. Please welcome them now.
Hello, everybody. There we go. Hi, folks. My name is Mark Valdez. Thank you, Lynn, for that wonderful introduction. Again, Mark Valdez, he, him. I'm zooming in from Tova Ungar, the land of the Tongva and Gabrielino peoples here in what is more commonly known as Los Angeles. And just thank you to Lynn and LISC and the NEA team and our resource collaborators for this opportunity to be here with you all, and especially that I get to be here with my friend.
Hey, Mark, can you hear me?
I can.
Oh, good. This is the first time I'm doing a voice thing because it turns out my Wi-Fi is not stable. I am very stable. I live in a place that's been stewarded and continues to be stewarded by the 5 tribes of the Wabanaki people for over 10,000 years. When I moved here in 2007, I simply knew it as Maine. Over the years, cultures other than the one I was raised in have taught me a lot about appreciation and thanks. I think of it as a very tangible example of the gifts we have to give each other across culture. And thanks to everyone. So thanks to everyone who's made these learning labs possible, starting with Teresa and Dr. Curtis Webb and the Design Impact team. And for Jen Hughes and the NEA Art Town team, and Lynn McCormick and the LISC team, their commitment and leadership to build community, to figure out ways we can sharpen our practices, as well as the impact of our work. It's a big deal, and Lynn said it very well, or somebody did, about the difference it's made. For Margie Waller for helping Mark and I do what we're going to do with you all today, and for our tech team, Jasmine, Hannah, Thomas, and more. And particularly thanks to all of you here with the learnings that Mark and I have gotten from all you've brought, including what we do here together today. Mark and I are here to offer thoughts, stories, and provocations, that's Mark's word, and I love it, about the role of art in art-based community development and systems change. We want to look at the art part of that equation to explore how this growing practice can imagine projects that not only create unforgettable art experiences, but actually make changes in systems that very much need changing. This work itself is a game changer. and it comes at a time when liberation game changers are essential to our future. It introduces tools and ways of being with each other that reveal a shared landscape of the heart and mind. And it creates or reveals, I'm not sure which, common ground for these challenging times.
Hey, Marty,
Much of the power.
go for it. Go for it. I was just going to wonder if we should now go into the imaginary slides.
Good. Skip the power of creativity and blah. Okay, good.
No, you're good. You're good. Keep going.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Power of creativity comes from engaging our imaginations. Last year, Mark and I invented a way for all of you and us to do just that. We call it imaginary slides. So instead of sharing exactly normal slides with images on them, we're going to show you a fashionably gray blank slide, right here and now, and describe what we see there, bringing your imaginations into the process as well as ours. We are going to imagine a personally unforgettable art experience, and for a short time. And Mark, are you first or am I first?
You're first.
I am. Okay.
Yeah.
Good. This is my slide. Okay, there we are. Okay.
Duh.
It's unforgettable, which is, I guess, the definition of unforgettable. It was called The Salmon Show. Bob Carroll is the man who wrote it out of the West Coast, San Francisco. He performed it in 1979 at PS 122 in New York City. And if you look at the slide to the right, just to the right of the center, okay, everybody with me? There's a white man with red blonde hair past his shoulders, black t-shirt, green olive colored pants, mutton chops, not so attractive to me at least, but a clean chin. And he's the kind of person, I'm in the Lower East Side for years, where in the bodega you'd sell a pack of Marlboros to this kind of guy and not think twice. But none of us could take our eyes off him. The stories hit someplace inside me that I didn't know existed. I was forgetting to breathe, or maybe we'd all started breathing in sync. And now we're starting to hop. I guess we better call this the imaginary video clip, Mark. He's starting to hop. He's gone down to the lower left corner, okay, everybody? And he's leaping up high. His left arm is so high, it looks like he's trying to touch the left top corner of the slide. He's singing stories, he's talking stories. Stories are flowing. They're silver gray, lightning colored, shiny, smooth, like the salmon, throwing themselves up with tremendous force. Water spraying in from all sides of the slide, rushing water, forcing the salmon back down, back to stories, back to where they'd come from, back to where they left from. And they leap again, his stories about capitalism, about salmon, about possibilities, throwing themselves as high as they can, the salmon, the stories, almost reaching the top right corner of the screen, then low, water bits flying in every direction as one salmon, one story, a salmon, a story after the other, fins shredding, tails tearing, gathering strength from spirit from somewhere, which is technically invisible, but now you know to imagine it, as we are carried up the stream to someplace we only remember in our dreams. But here we are with Bob Carroll, alone and somehow together.
It's so beautiful. I could totally see it. Like it's there. Thank you for sharing.
I feel a little wet.
No.
Your imaginary slide friend.
Okay, great. So, Jasmine, could you go to the next slide, please?
Oh, thanks, Sam.
Awesome.
Got to ask.
Great. This art experience that I'm going to talk about is something that happened, something I saw at Lincoln Center. And this was about a year after 9/11. I saw an Iraqi company perform. This was a performance that took place under this tent outdoors, kind of in the plaza there at Lincoln Center, and it was, the scale was really big. It was really big, and there were horses, and the riders would do these amazing horse tricks as they were going, kind of riding through this space, and beautiful lighting, and there was just music and singing, and this was this is part of a religious pageant, I guess you would call it. But it was in Arabic, so I never quite knew what was being said, and yet I was there, and and especially like just remember, y'all, like that year after 9/11, it was hearing a play performed in Arabic just felt transgressive. It felt dangerous because like this was a moment in our history where like you would could get hurt if you were walking down the street speaking Arabic, right? Like that was our climate that we were in, and the combination of what was just joyous and just celebratory and beautiful during this moment of tension and confusion just kind of heightened all of that event. So the image on the slide just kind of explain what's going on. So you see that warm yellow colors that make up the base of the picture, right? And then there's the turquoise blue and that forest green colors that are creating this marble effect. And really, one of the things I just love about this particular slide is that there are these little pops, these little like spots of these bright white and these bright reds, and it's kind of like Jackson Pollock just kind of decided to stop by and pay a visit, as we were making this slide, and but what I really love is just is it's the darkness. It's the threads that are present. These those dark lines and those dark crevices and kind of, that are there that create texture and create shadow, but they kind of add that heaviness, right? That heaviness that you see that tempers kind of undercuts some of that warmth, and it's that tension, right, that I was talking about. Now, obviously, this slide isn't it's a figurative kind of moment of the event, and I think what this slide captures is just the feelings, right? The emotions that I carry with me, because like what I find is that it was a memorable of an unforgettable art event, and yet with time, I forget some of the specifics, and but these emotions that you're seeing, um, those are still kind of those emotional echoes that are still in me. So, and Jasmine, can you move on to the next slide for Marty, please?
Thanks, Mark. Jasmine, thank you. Can you just hop back to Mark's for one quick second? Thank you. Mark, because of time, we need to go to the breakout soon, but I just had one quick question. What color are the horses?
The horses, they're these. Oh my goodness! I think there's actual names for these colors, but I don't have them, so I'm going to use the language that I have, which are like they're these beautiful, like light brown, dark brown, and the occasional white horse, that would come through. But
Okay.
they're just majestic, right?
Wow.
These beautiful, like these
Wow.
strong animals. Yeah.
Lovely, lovely, lovely. Okay, so you can go to my slide, Jasmine, but you don't have to because I just looked at my non-imaginary clock, and we we need to go to breakout rooms. We're a few minutes behind. So, Mark, I think you're going to set us up, right?
Uh-huh. Yes. So great. So now what we want to do is we'd like to invite you to create your own imaginary slides. Like we just kind of demonstrated for you and just kind of explained. You got to experience kind of what we mean by imaginary slides. And in a little bit, we're going to send you into breakout rooms. You're going to be in groups of 4, I believe. You're each going to have about 2 minutes to describe the slide of a memorable art experience that you had. Just a couple of things to remember. Describe what folks should see and tell folks about that experience. The other thing I'll just say is like, do not worry about getting it wrong. It's art. It can be messy. That's okay. The thing is like, make something.
And I'm going to make a pitch that y'all use a timer and set it for 2 minutes. It's the only way I've ever figured out to really ensure an equity of listening and equity of participation. So we're going to drag you back soon. And 3, an unforgettable art experience. Hit it. And the chat has the instructions. Thank you, Hannah. Are we alone? I mean,
Awesome, folks. Welcome back. Are folks back? Yes? No, not yet.
are we back yet?
Not quite yet. I'm sorry.
Hey, folks. Welcome back, everybody. Hope you had as much fun sharing your imaginary slides as we did when Marty and I did it. Just want to invite you right now to, if you want, just put in the chat kind of the name of the show or something about that performance, that imaginary slide that still lives with you. If you want, go ahead and put that something there in the chat. So that we can keep these memories living, right? These memorable art experiences that you had. We can't do a report back, but this is at least a way that we can just kind of capture and put out into this collective universe in our co-creation what some of these experiences were. So I love that one of them had a smell. That's exactly imaginary slides. Beautiful. Thank you, group, for doing that. And as you do that, I wanted to introduce a tool that Marty and I find useful. We were part of a group that helped create this aesthetics perspective framework. And one of the things that folks asked us as we were putting together our presentation is they asked if there were tools that we could share that people could use as they think about art, and certainly art in the context of community, work in community, and transformation. And so what I want to share with you all right now is this aesthetic perspective. It's a framework created by Animating Democracy. Jasmine, if you could load up that slide, please. And you can see it right there. And it's what this is. It's an accessible way to articulate and evaluate the impact that art brings to this work. This work being art and community, art for transformation, for change. Personally, English language doesn't always have the vocabulary around the creativity that we need to kind of describe the power and the influence of our work. And so here's kind of a tool that might be useful to you that provides some language. We're just going to go through that really quickly. This is a short summary of what that is, of this document that is more detailed, and there's a lot more pieces to it. In a little bit, we'll share that link. But some of the categories and some of the tools here are disruption, commitment, communal meaning, cultural integrity, risk-taking, emotional experience, sensory experience, openness, coherence, resourcefulness, and stickiness. And as we go on through our presentation today and through some of things that we're talking about, we'll come back to some of these and unpack them a little bit. But it's also here just as something that you all might find useful, and just wanted to let you know that it exists and that it's there for your use, and should you find that something that can help you as you think about the art part in your own work. So maybe from here we move on to the to kind of the why we're here today, which is the art part and what we think we know. One of the things, the other thing that just before we do that, if you need to just kind of take a little wiggle, right? We've been talking a lot, you've been doing that. Just kind of, now's a good time just to kind of shake out whatever your body needs, take a breath, come in, exhale, whatever you need to do with your body. Now's a good time to just kind of take care of yourself. We're going to talk for a little bit, so this is a good little body comfort break. So as you do that, Marty and I are going to talk about what we think we know about the art part. And this is really based on decades of working in and with communities, producing projects, running organizations, doing administrative work, grant writing, all these things of the work that we've been doing, and kind of taking this opportunity to provide some provocations based on things that we've observed and learned and are kind of thinking right now. I will just say, like, these are our insights and our opinions. Uh, Sometimes they mesh nicely, sometimes they might not, but feel free to interrupt us, question what we have to say, agree, disagree. It's all welcome, right? Use the chat if you'd like. But know that this is kind of the beginnings of conversation. So with that, I'm gonna yeah, awesome. Yes, gallery views are good. I'm going to pass it over to Marty, and with this prompt, because like as we were preparing for our session, Marty made a comment about kind of refreshments. Marty, I don't know if you remember that, and but I'm wondering if you can just kind of share with folks what you meant by kind of art and refreshments, and maybe kind of go from there. Yep. Marty, did we lose you?
We may have lost her. We'll give her a moment to dial in. If you can, Mark, you can continue on.
Sure. I will do that. I just need to advance in the script so that I can get to where my stuff is. Awesome. So here we go. So one of the things I want to talk about, like one of my own observations, is something I've been thinking about is let me again start back. There's a project that I did in the neighborhood of Watts here in Los Angeles. It's in South Central Los Angeles. Was kind of often kind of considered a Black community, but in the last kind of many years, really has become more of a Latino community, and it's a beautiful, rich neighborhood, as kind of so many of our neighborhoods are. And we did a project back in 2003, maybe 2004. It was a community-based play that I did with Cornerstone Theater Company, an LA-based company that creates plays in and with communities. And the focus of this particular play was to look at homophobia in the Black church and its correlations to disproportionately high HIV rates. And like so many of these types of projects, this one was complicated. I had to come in and replace another director who had started the process. And at my first rehearsal with the company, with the cast, we all gathered and we were talking. And one of the community members turns to me and just says, we want you to make our play the best play that this city has seen. We want it to rival anything else happening in any theater here in Los Angeles, because this is a play about our community. And we're going to do it for our friends, and we're going to do it for our family, and for everyone in Watts. And we're proud of our community. So don't let us make a play that's just okay. Help us make the best play. And that has forever really stayed with me. That I think, as you all know from your own work, I think there are moments where it feels like it's just enough that we do something, because we face so many hurdles, we face so many obstacles, and just doing something feels like a huge accomplishment sometimes. And it is, like, I don't want to diminish that, because you all know you're doing your projects. But what I learned is that we're being asked to do more, that our collaborators need us to make good art, powerful art, transformative art. I am aware when I say good art that is super loaded and could very well be triggering, and I feel like I get it, and that's something that we have to unpack, right? But there's items in the aesthetic perspectives, like stickiness and communal meaning and cultural integrity, emotional experience, risk taking. Yes, risk taking. These are things that I think folks are wanting, in as we think about like how we center and the role of the art part. That becomes all the more meat content things for us to look at. Maria Rosario Jackson, who's kind of nominated for the NEA chair right now, right? We were talking, and she said something to me. She said, "You have to get unsettled to get unstuck." And there's a notion that was also part of that framework, which is disruption. And I think that, you know, and I think it's something that, I was talking to Matthew Glassman about, this idea that you have to get lost before you can get found. I think those are the things that art can do for us. And again, as I think about like things that I've learned, um, there's something about what art can do to create that space for being lost, for imagining, for transformation, you know, and you know, for this high bar, rigorous, kind of culturally expressive art making that we do. Um, right now, I've been working on policy change. Uh, uh, welcome back, Marty.
Thank you. I've been here
Okay.
for your talk, Mark. It's
Oh,
lovely.
fantastic! Thank you, thank you. I've just been talking,
Oh, you're kidding. You didn't do your
No,
slide?
I'm doing. I haven't done the slides yet, I'm about to.
Oh,
I'm about
thank
to.
God.
So great, great. So what I was going to say is, I've been talking about. I've been working on policy. I've really been thinking a lot about it because we're here talking about systems change, and this current project I've been working on. Well, I'm thinking about policy change and the role that art can and needs to play in making policy change, and this idea of disruption, right, is something that we've been thinking about, and I think that's one of the things that art does, right? It disrupts the quotidian. It gives us a break from the ordinary. It gives us the opportunity to see things differently. I'm going to share here in a little bit some images from the project I'm working on. It's called The Most Beautiful Home Maybe. Jasmine, this would be a good point to kind of add that link, themostbeautifulhomemaybe.com, if you want to kind of more information there about the project. But this project is an experiment to use art in the process of art making to influence policy. And in this instance, we're talking about affordable housing policies. Uh, as part of the development of this piece, we've been working with government workers, nonprofits, and for-profit developers, advocates, activists, and folks who are most impacted by kind of our housing crisis. And one of the things that comes up repeatedly is a desire for more imagination, or rather, kind of what comes up is actually a lament that there isn't more imagination in public spaces. And so we kind of use that as a jumping off point for the work that we've created. Uh, Part of what they were talking about is that lament is that folks in policy, felt like increasingly they're focused more and more on what they need to, on the laws they think they can pass instead of the laws that need to be passed and the imagination that requires. And so we've got this discrepancy. So here's where this work that I'm doing, your projects, I think really can kind of come in. Jasmine, can you bring up that first slide, please? So I'm just going to share some images from the show that we created. So the characters, the main characters in the script here, yeah, I think it's now going to be slide 13 because we kind of switched those orders around slide 12.
So, Mark,
Yep.
according to Margie, we have about 9.5 minutes till breakout.
Great. So I'm going to do this super quick.
Okay.
So this play here is the characters are zebras, and zebras who are here to talk about affordable housing. And in the first minute of the show, there's a zebra who is singing torch songs about broken hearts in German. And so, like already, you're put in this imaginative space. Next slide, please, Jasmine. We get invited to time travel. And so here, so that we can go back and look at root causes of how we got here. And so here's a moment. One of the zebras is in human drag. This is playing LBJ, and doing excerpts of the speech from the inauguration of HUD, the Department of Housing and Urban Development, and that's juxtaposed with another zebra singing "Mississippi Goddamn," and we juxtapose the the turbulence of the 1960s with this possible vision for a beautiful housing future. Next slide, please. There's also, we invite audiences to play a game called Sprinkles, because donuts, zebras love donuts. So here's a game. You take a donut and you decorate it with sprinkles that are your housing priorities, and you have to talk to each other to find out what that is. This communal meaning. Last slide, please. And then that kind of emotional experience, right? Like there's a moment in the play where an actor just kind of breaks down, just stops the play and talks directly to the audience, breaks that fourth wall, or this is in the round, so there is no fourth wall. But we just kind of have a conversation about how systems are failing us and what that's doing to people. And so so I'll just kind of wrap up and just say, like, in this kind of realm where we're just looking at the art, we're looking at kind of these issues, we're looking at policies, how policy fails us in this imaginative creative space. I think that's where we find kind of the usefulness and the role that art can play, and why kind of centering art is kind of something that that we need to do. So I'll pause there, hand it over to you, Marty.
Thanks, Mark. So great. So I'll just do a couple of the slides, and I think we will go a little bit into break, Jasmine, but hopefully not too far. And I'll just do a nice improv edit of what I was going to say. So this show is City Water Tunnel number 3. It was 1993 to 1998, 5-year project. And it was about the building of New York City's third water tunnel. It was a 60-year-long public works project. It's as deep in the ground as the Chrysler building is high, and 25 men had died building the tunnel by the time I started the project. And for me, it's an example of narrative, the power of a narrative. And that's why I'm sharing it. It was a one-woman theater show. It was a benefit. It was a Sandhog, a union, benefits for the Sandhog Union who are building the tunnel. 8 on-site performances, multiple story circles, a weekend fair for tunnel workers and residents. There's lots more online at www.artatwork.us. Lots of projects are there, including the ones we're skipping. But I wanted to talk about new narratives. It had lots of new narratives. It had lots of narratives: water's preciousness, the essentialness of municipal government, the value of working class work and working class people, the necessity to make really, really long range plans, like a 60-year water tunnel project to get the kind of systems change that is needed for, say, our educational system, for example. Even now, 25 years after the first performance, people still come up to me and say that it changed their life. That they, every time they turn the faucet on, they think of the show, they think of the people, they think of the effort, they think of what it took, and to bring that water out of that faucet. So I want to just offer this question to you all: what narratives could have a dramatic and lasting impact on your community? The second slide is called a project called Listening Wall, and it was homelessness, gentrification, and the middle. It's been a huge issue in Portland, obviously in most communities, too many elements to share here, but I did choose this project with an eye to multiple points of engagement. I wanted to talk about how I design projects so that we started with 15 graduate students in sociology at the University of Southern Maine. Each of them came up with a list of 10 people. We narrowed it down to 3 to 5 each, and they conducted about 100 interviews, one-on-one with bartenders, faith leaders, waitresses, realtors, young people. And then with our partners' help, we built a 30-foot, and that's what you're seeing in that slide on the top right, a 30-foot by 8-foot hinged wall, and it was hinged in a way that created cubbies. You're seeing the 2 people on the top left are having a listening exchange about homelessness, gentrification, and the middle. It's a chalk paint, so people were invited, passerbyers were invited. Another layer of engagement was for them to write their thoughts, or write their stories, or write their questions, or write their critiques. And at least 1,000 people directly engaged with this. It was a one night only thing on a first Friday in Monument Square, which is at the heart of Portland, Maine's downtown. Titles are a great way to make an impact on the greatest number of people, since if you think about it, right, the title is the one thing the most number of people will engage in. They'll read about it in the paper, they'll get a flyer, they'll hear about it in passing, they won't come, they won't have anything else. But that title, which is why I added the word the middle, to both be inclusive and create a wider net than just homelessness and gentrification, and also to open the door to questions and thinking. We did a pop-up stage on the right, you see that, and we had lots of folks. Jim is one of the founders of Homeless Voices for Justice in Portland, and he also took a turn on the pop-up stage and came by. Okay, next slide. I may skip this entirely, but I just want to say the cups on the left, top left, are prints that the public works workers made. There was an abundance of racism happening in our public works department. And I'm laughing because what the hell. But I figured out to start convening story circles, and I got the help of the union, made good relationships with the union there and also the management, and had a very diverse group of all white people, because most everybody was white who worked there, except the people that were getting targeted with racism. And I helped them do story circles on reclaiming their actual ethnic heritage rather than their whiteness, which none of them had actually paid much attention to. So they got to start reclaiming and learning about and gathering stories from the people they were related to about being Franco and Irish and Italian and Greek and Russian and German and all these other things. And then they worked with Daniel Minter, a really extraordinary artist, African-American artist who grew up in Georgia, who's been in Maine for quite a while. And he helped them make these prints about their work objects and their heritage. And we had an opening, they're framed in order to add sustainability to what we'd achieved. They're framed in they're at the landfill and in the garage and in the budget office, all over the workplace. But also we had a show at exhibit, Art at Work had a gallery in City Hall, and it was standing room only, packed to the gills, and these 5 very shy, awkward, working class men and their supervisor did a panel, a standing panel, and shared stories about what they loved about their job, to complete stunned silence, and about how hard it was to get targeted with stereotypes. And the last slide, I was going to talk about the longest. It's comes under what I think of as disruption, and I want to ask everyone to at least consider throughout whatever projects you're doing, or look back and reflect, or if you're doing a project in the future, and just every now and then ask yourself, is there a shortcut that disruption could offer on the way to our goals? I don't know that in terms of a lot of the issues we're facing, we don't really have time to do a step by step by step by step. And so this was a project called Forest City Times. It was after David Okad, a South Sudanese resident, was shot and killed by the police. There was a lot of outrage about it, and the police chief asked if I would do a performance, create a performance and direct it with officers for the high school students as an answer and to deal with this outrage. And I said, you know, it's not Art at Work's mission to do PR or calm things down in a particular way. It's actually transformative. So I insisted on his permission to work with the officers most likely to cross a line. That took a while. He finally gave it. And then without his permission, I just discovered that there was a group called Maine Inside Out, who is working with African-born immigrant and refugee students in Portland High School in particular. And I commissioned them to do a play with the students about their relationship to the police, and it was performed next to each other at all 3 high schools and at the public library to well over 1,000 folks. And there was no fake meeting, but at the end, the other disruption, well, to me, the disruption was inviting them to come and do a performance next to this other performance with the officers that I was developing. But then the last disruption was insisting on a debriefing, and it was there that none of them wanted to come. They all had great excuses, and they did come. And it was there that was the first time they actually talked to each other, and to a person said it changed their lives. What they did together changed their lives. And It was I'm calling it a disruption just because no one wanted to do it. No one was willing to say, yeah, this is a good idea, let's do it. So I'm learning about disruption as a way of getting to where we need to be going, but I wanted to offer that. And a quick thing that, Mark, we were going to start with, but then I got kicked off by my own Wi-Fi. And that was this list. Keep the art bar high, whatever it takes. It's essential to the impact of your projects that the art bar be high. Being creative awakens an ability to think flexibly, desperately needed. Vision is very sticky. Have a vision, get a vision, and make sure you tell it to everyone and share it. I wrote disruption can be a fast track route to your project's impacts and goals. Risk is an essential element in making art, and it builds courage. I would consider designing risk, looking at your projects and seeing where you can design risk. I mean, I think it's risky anytime you're asking people to make art or be creative. So that's certainly a one way, but I think there's other ways to really let people. And then the last thing is human beings like challenges. They really do. And apparently my secret power is getting people to agree to do things that they're very sure they won't be doing. But I say, look to 2-year-olds, how much a 2-year-old wants to climb up the ladder by themselves. They like it, and it's a good thing, and let's do it together. So, time for breakouts. That was a little race to the finish. Mark, can you take us to the?
I will take us into the breakouts. Yes,
Thank
thank
you,
you. Yeah. So we're going to go into breakout rooms again. You're going to have about 20-ish minutes. This is going to be, if you will, take time turns like you did previously to revisit the art part of your projects. Some things to think about. What are ways that the art part can deepen, extend, or inspire systems change? What are some ways that deepening the commitment to art can enhance systems change? That's kind of the main question. If you have questions about what that means, go ahead and just ask it at the start of your group time so that you can kind of talk that through and take turns. You have about 5 minutes each. And it's really just kind of looking at just that role that the art part can play. So with that, we'll invite you into your breakout rooms and trust that you'll have fruitful conversations. Enjoy.
Marty, how you doing?
Okay, is that Jasmine?
It is. Our other two members actually all got put into a host room. So they may come back and just chill out in the main room, or I can put you in the host room if you'd like.
Yeah, put me in the host room.
Awesome. All right, I'll see you in a bit.
Thank you.
Hey everybody, welcome back. Welcome back. We don't have time to do a debrief of the things that you talked about, but fully trust that you had a rich conversation and that there were some really great thoughts on the art part in your projects. But as we kind of approach the end of our time here together, what we'd like to do as a kind of wrap up and as a kind of report back, I guess you could look at it as that way, is we have a question for you. What is something that that you're leaving with that you didn't have when you came? And maybe it's an insight from your breakouts, a question from the presentations, a highlight of a moment. But what is something that you're going to leave with that you didn't have when you came? And if you will, add it to the chat. And the reason that we need you to add it to the chat is that we're going to take that information and behind the scenes, as your chats are, as your answers are filling the chat, Hannah is going to be creating a poster, if you will, an artifact of kind of a reflection of what we've done here with our time together. Again, the prompt, what is something that you are leaving with that you didn't have when you came? Again, could be an insight, a question, an idea, a highlight. Just add it to the chat. Go ahead, take a minute. This is one of those moments, y'all, where participation is going to be really useful because it's all built on your responses. So whatever your responses are what's going to make this piece. So this is a moment for your participation. Thank you. Thank you for putting those in. These are some examples. Great. Again, folks, just to highlight something you're leaving with that you didn't have when you first came in, an idea, a question, a response. Just keep adding them to the chat.
And go to gallery view with your other hand. And you're doing great things.
Thank you. Thank you for all these
Hannah had a
responses.
really good breakfast, so she'd be prepared. She said she loaded up on carbs for 3 days so she could take your chats and turn them into a poster in a short amount of time.
Really fast.
Really fast. And I'm going to call on people. I find it terribly scary. It took me years to be able to talk in front of people outside of being the one person on stage. But I would love to call on some of you just so you get to feel the sizzle of fear that I've had to experience for the last 90 minutes. Olivia, Georgia, what was your insight, takeaway, highlight?
Olivia, you're
Hey,
on
we
mute.
gotta
Yeah, there we go. Okay. No. I mean, I put a silly thing in the chat, which is the power of puppets, but
Yes.
it was really in response to Matthew's, suggestion that having people actually physically show up in a place is really, really important, and that some events around that cross the borders between performance and protest and celebration, can really make a very powerful and really fun and welcoming and challenging way to move things along.
Great. And Teresa, you actually, I'm sure, have felt the sizzle of something, but can you share your takeaway, please?
Yeah, sure. So my takeaway that I was sharing with the core team is that, no matter what we say and no matter what we share in these, convenings, these traditional forms of gathering, that people care the most about how you make them feel. And I believe that as an external sort of facilitator and supporter of this process, I just feel really grateful to be a part of this and see that the grantees, or the hope is that the grantees feel seen, that they feel supported, that you all feel connected to something much bigger than yourself, and feeling comfortable with challenge, with pausing, with pivoting, and just leaning into your gut and knowing what's best for you, centering communities, and being sure to advocate when necessary collectively. And so
Right.
I appreciate you all.
I got you. Robin, I don't know you. You're in the city of Albuquerque. Or you've stolen the sign, the city seal behind you.
Yeah, I work for the city of Albuquerque. I'm about 2 months in on being here, but my background has been for about 27 years in the Twin Cities. I have a journalism background, but also an arts background, ran for lieutenant governor on an arts background. And so, thank you. And so right now, I really do believe in the power of street art and protest art as a tool for public policy. And what you did was fantastic. And I'm just so amazed by your performance and the incredible ability to get people to see it and transform their thinking in terms of what happens in municipalities and how they can be involved in change through the arts. I'm working with the Wilkins Forum with the University of Minnesota for a 2023 conference in Cape Town, South Africa, about the importance of street art and public policy.
They
and
know.
so,
yeah, there's some of my
great.
Yeah. Sorry to interrupt.
Please go ahead, Marty, please.
Well, just the South African artists have been some of my mentors they don't know it, but I think for a lot of us in terms of a lot of what it takes. And also it's where I learned the power of art making. I thought it was, I bought the lie that it was marginal and it was for rich people and not a very essential activity. And then the anti-apartheid movement showed me, and the civil rights movement here
Right on.
showed me quite the opposite, quite the opposite. Can we go to New Orleans or at least Louisiana? Amma, do you have?
Yeah, hi, it's Amy. And
Amy.
I think for me, it's remembering why I am working so hard to support artists. Like we're just remembering that spark. The invisible slide descriptions were beautiful. Thank you.
That's great. And guess what? Our hero of the day, Hannah, has made a poster, which we're now gonna get to see. Don't forget to save the chat, everybody. It's quite wonderful.
It's beautiful.
There's some of our comments, some of what we are taking right off the chat into a beautiful poster. Wow. Just how moving those imaginary slides brought me back to the essence of this work and transformative power of art. Aesthetic perspectives, puppets are serious business. Mark, do you want to pick out a couple?
Transformation takes time. I can't see because I have bad eyes. So what is it? Significance of imagination and creativity for change. The aesthetics, perspectives, visual.
Awesome. Lovely, Hannah. Love the reminder, get unsettled to get unstuck. Inspiration to keep the art bar high while creating the artistic space and community for transformation and imagination. Two more.
Sure, you go. I don't know where we are. Unsettled.
How lovely.
Yeah.
This worked. Hannah, it worked. We made up something and it worked.
Here's something from Matthew. Without imagination, there is no memory. Without imagination, there is no sensation. Without imagination, there is no will, desire. From a rant by Diane DePrima. Thank you for sharing that, Matthew.
Wow. We could totally make a website with all these
we really can. This is our first podcast content here.
Yeah.
Hey, folks, thank you so much. Thank you for adding to this. Thank you for letting your imaginations kind of free and stepping into things that may have been uncomfortable. Thank you for being here today. It's just, it's the middle of the week, in the middle of the day, and so we take your presence here very seriously, and we're very grateful that you made the time to be with us. So thank you again. Big thank you to Hannah. Thank you to Liz, to Jen, to everybody in the Our Town team. As we move to just the wrap up, this is the last session of the last day. I want to invite Teresa Gonzalez to come in and do some final wrap ups for us here. So Teresa, I will hand it over to you.
All right. Thank you so much, Mark and Marty. So hard to surpass your humor. And so I'm going to do my best. But actually, I wanted to take something you all said in the spirit of beautiful home. I wanted to acknowledge Robin and Sherry. I am native New Mexican. I can count 5 generations on both sides, my maternal, paternal side. But I'm actually currently in Cincinnati. And so as we think about home and we close this circle, I want to say that the circle really never closes. So after I'm done, we have another closing by Jen Hughes. But I wanted to say that because, for those of you who come from places that are very hospitable, like you say goodbye and then you really don't say goodbye until like you're at the car and then you're rolling down the window and saying goodbye a 4th and 5th time. And so, it's like that in New Mexico. It's like that here in Ohio. And I feel like that here with you all. And in New Mexico, in the New Mexico tradition, indigenous tradition, we use the term querencia. And querencia, means a place, right? A sense of belonging, a sense of strength, and where you get your source, right? The source, whether it's water, art, cultura, and so I think I see this space as querencia because it's not just place-based. It is that and so much more. It also transcends space. So as I close out the circle, before we close it out again, I'm going to share my final slides as we talk about what we have discussed around equity and like how this all makes sense. So today, we started off with equity-driven digital. And now we're going to go over the final sort of 6-shift framework that Design Impact has to share with you all. And then I'm going to cover all of them, and then we're gonna just take a pause, and then continue to let like everything that you've gained from yourself and from others as a part of the session, and let it resonate deeply. So the final slide is humane capitalism, and the reflection piece and homework is picking one of these or all of these, and again I'll share the publication with you all. But the first one is, how might we create the conditions for generosity and empathy over fear and uncertainty? How might we embody and encourage an ethos of people over profit? How might we reimagine the what and who a thriving economy requires? And how might we shift our economic work model to create the necessary time and space that humans need to sustain their needs holistically? And that's exactly what we're doing right now. So I just wanted to thank you all for being able to share that with you all. And we covered these over the past 3 sessions. We started with Inequity Awakened, the rise of rest and healing, moving from service to power building, interconnected collective, and then today we went over equity-driven digital and humane capitalism. And just want to thank you all again for sharing this time and space with us, and formally close the circle by passing it off to Jen Hughes, a Director of Design and Creative Placemaking with the National Endowment for the Arts, who will share next steps and continue to thank you all for your time.
Wow. So now you're in the car, you're starting to roll out the window, but I'm like, wait. Thank you all so very much. I just have such enormous gratitude, and I'm leaving today so lifted by all of you and just so moved by all of your contributions. Teresa, Dr. Curtis, Design Impact, all the incredible presenters today. Mark, Marty, Matthew, I still see you here, Looking Glass Creative, Jasmine, Dan, Thomas, Margie, Hannah, Leah, and Lynn. Carlton, yes. And Lynn, thank you, Lynn, for your vision in not just these sessions, but really in building a program that is really so centered around the grantees' work and building this national movement and community of practice. So if you have to leave with one thing today, there will be recordings. You can refer back to materials. We're going to be sending out a great wrap up. Share this with your partners, artists, community that you practice with. I think there was so much valuable information shared, ideas, inspiration. And I just really hope that you see your project work in the ways that we perceive it, as really driving systems change, and that you're part of this national community. And in the words of Carlton Turner, you're a community of artists and practitioners that are helping to reshape the collective imagination of our nation. And I truly, really do believe that. And I hope you also know that we are here from you. This is not the end of the road. We're going to drop a survey in the chat. If you have 5 minutes now, we just ask for your feedback so we can continue to design and iterate on this program in a way that services the grantees and all the wonderful project work happening across the country. And I hope you tap into this program for your project journey and beyond. We really want to be here as a community for support. So I think, in the words of Teresa, this is still yet a beginning and an invitation to continue to dream, imagine, center equity in this work, and really forge forward on that North Star goal of systems change. So thank you all so very much. And I just want to wish you all a wonderful rest of the day and happy holidays coming up and a wonderful closeout of 2021. And hopefully we'll be in touch in the new year. Thank you so much.